Our next session is actually an extended session. We've got 20 minutes to hear from Wilco Winkel and Joost Verdoorn on automated feedback on deliverables. Wilco is the information manager at the Erasmus University Rotterdam, and he's also working on his doctoral research on the digital support of problem-based learning. He's the perfect example of a lifelong learner. He works closely with the community of learning and innovation at the Erasmus University Rotterdam and has been a close FeedbackFruits partner. Joost Verdoorn is the team lead of the FeedbackFruits R&D department. He can be considered a true FeedbackFruits veteran. With his computer science background, he and his team are always working on the most innovative and groundbreaking projects. So I'm very much looking forward to hear what they have to say.
Good afternoon, everyone. I was a bit too eager to step in 10 minutes ago, so I made sure that it was my turn this time. Wilco Winkel, as said, I do have a background in educational psychology, and now at a corporate level do run the innovation at the Erasmus University. 2 years ago, I went to FeedbackFruits, to Joost and to Ewout, with a specific problem that I asked their help for. And since then, we've been working on this module that's available on production since 2 weeks. So I'm very enthusiastic to speak about this module today. It's been a co-creation with the Rotterdam University of Applied Sciences and together with FeedbackFruits, of course. The problem that we have, or that we saw, is that we year after year, the quality of feedback teachers gave to our students diminished, caused by an ever-increasing number of students. In higher education in the Netherlands, we see a year-over-year increase in number of students and in diversity of students. Diversity in prior knowledge, in age, in their mindsets. So it increasingly, the amount of time teachers have to support teachers and to provide them with feedback diminishes due to the large numbers and due to the variety of students that come in the university. So what we wanted to do is to increase the quality of feedback by providing them just-in-time feedback. We know from a psychological perspective that feedback is only valuable if it's provided just in time or in a timely fashion. And what we saw at the University of Rotterdam is that students received feedback after 2 or 3 weeks due to the large numbers of students handing in their student products. And by then, students couldn't even remember what they handed in. So it was a waste of time, or there was room for improvements, to put it more positively. By providing timely feedback, we see that the quality of students' products increase because they learn quicker from their mistake, and they are more engaged in the assignment they are working on. At the same time, we had to make sure that we couldn't add to the work pressure of our teachers. They are, year over year, our teachers report an ever-increasing work pressure from 60% of our teaching staff 10 years ago reporting that they had too little time to work on a qualitatively good level, or it increased to 70% of teachers reporting stress. So having the goal to improve the quality of learning, we couldn't add to additional teaching pressure or teaching workload. And what teachers reported is that they wanted a solution to avoid them to have to give feedback, give stupid feedback or feedback on stupid mistake, repetitive mistakes. It caused an energy drain to continuously say, I asked for an introduction and you don't give an introduction. I asked for a conclusion, but your conclusion doesn't relate to your questions, and so on. So simple stuff that caused an energy drain at the end of the teaching staff. What we came up with together with FeedbackFruits is a LTI tool that can be integrated in all major digital learning environments and uses AI for automatic feedback on student assignments, student submissions. And the way in which we see it is that the automatic feedback is focused on the volume of student products and the volume of student mistakes. And then it's followed up by a second layer of feedback provided by their peers, ending with feedback of the teacher, of the expert, allowing him. So here, the AI feedback focuses on simple things like word count and grammatical tense and the style of references to get rid of the tedious feedback. And then teachers focusing, allowing teachers to have time and energy left to provide feedback on critical thinking, scientific writing, and reasoning. What we did is we took out a very nice article of Razi in 2015 and based the product development on scientific literature on grading of student writing skills. There are about 40, I think, criteria that we could use to evaluate and grade student writing skills. And we graded it on the amount of effort it would take us to put it in an AI solution, the feasibility, and most important, on the gain student would have on receiving feedback on that specific aspect. And we are now currently, I think we have 15 out of the 32 features have been implemented, and in our roadmap we foresee that we can add another 10 features the coming year. So we will aim at covering all aspects that are identified in the scientific literature on grading student writing skills. And in the European Union, privacy and ethics on AI is a big deal. So rather than having it as a concern in hindsight, we started developing the product within the ethics framework of the European Union. And in a demo, you will see some aspects of it being maximum transparent to students, so communicating that their products are being graded by an AI module, allowing them to withdraw from the automated grading, to object to specific parts of the grading. So we embraced the ethical guidelines for the development of AI to allow for student adoption of the product and to allow for further development of the AI movement in education. I think I'll hand it over to Joost for a specific demo. Thanks.
Thanks, Wilco. Let me just see how this. I have to kick you out of screen sharing, I think.
Yeah.
This one. Right. So, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Wilco, for the words. Indeed, I'm going to give you the demo of how the tool is right now in production. And what you'll be seeing is a fully integrated system into the learning management tool as it was released 2 weeks ago. Here, the instructor can indeed configure what to give feedback on. And we currently allow some low-level topics such as content, layout, academic writing techniques, tables and figures, and references. But I'll I'll show it right away, actually. Let's just dive right in. So this is a Canvas environment, as you may be familiar with in your own universities. Here I can add a module. In this case, I will add the automated feedback module. We have quite a list there. Let me also just expand this a bit. And let me just get started. So as with every FeedbackFruits tool, we need to provide a title of the learning activity and provide some instructions. But the magic is what happens down here in the hand-in step, because here we can actually configure the automated feedback. And let us just add some points of feedback. So let's say students should have an introduction of, well, at least 300 words. We also would like them to write a conclusion, seeing that they're usually very wordy in a conclusion. We want them to have a maximum of 400 words. The total word count should be not more than 1,000. We want this to be a short essay because, well, it keeps them focused, so to say, in this case. We'd like page numbers to be there. Let me just add a few of these, which are nice. Reference citation count, so we only want students to use sources that were cited enough. Sometimes students tend to just try to find any source that supports their intended conclusion, but if we can actually say, no, we only allow sources that have been cited a certain number of times. And I'm feeling lucky today. We have some beta feedback as well. That is usually, we try not to demonstrate that because, well, you never know what's going to happen, but let's just try and see if we can actually see whether students did actually use the references that they cite at the end of the document, if they actually use it in the text. Sometimes they just add some sources at the end without referring to them in the text, and that is not really conducive to the learning experience. Yeah, let me just add one more that I actually wanted to demonstrate, the reference style. Some teachers are really find this very important, that there's a certain style associated with the references. Let's just say for now we want them to be consistent, so it doesn't matter which style as long as they apply it consistently. All right, I'm now pretty happy with this setup, and let's save. Add the item, and don't forget to publish, because this is what happens a couple of times already to my demos, where I forget to publish, then switch to the student view, and then the student sees nothing. There we go. So I'm now in my student view. This is what you would see as a student. So I go to automated feedback on writing. Here I can let's go full screen just to make sure that it all fits on the page. Here I indeed see the instructions as I hand them in. And before handing in, I can already see what is actually expected of me, so that I can prepare, that I know exactly what I will be getting feedback on. Having read that, I upload my work. Let's put in this one. And now I can see the status of these things. But the idea here is that we can grab a cup of tea or something, because we did some hard work. We delivered it on time, probably. Well, the reader is looking over it. And here we also have something to actually prime the student, to let them know this is automated. It may not be perfect. You can always object to the feedback that you'll be getting. These things we think are very important to systematically say to the students. It's not the point of this system to be grading or to be judging. It's really there to help the student. And we think that it can really do that. It has the potential. So that's why we frame it like that. All right. And we see that we actually got some feedback in. That's wonderful. We got 5 compliments and 2 suggestions. Let's just see the results here. Well, we indeed had an introduction and a conclusion within the limits, but here I see that something did went wrong. Some references were not cited enough times, and we also see that 3 references were actually not used. So this sneaky student tried to hand in their work with more references than they used. Let's see how this looks within the document. And here indeed I can see the document on the right hand side. I can see the comments that I got from the reader on the left, or sorry, on the right hand side, the document on the left hand side. And I can actually make this even larger. And here I can just go through the results, see where I did get comments. This is the only place. So they say that the Gladwin reference here did not get used in text. And actually I have a nice example here. Sapinski, the student did refer to Sapinski somewhere in text, but he actually used the Sapinski 2017 reference. But here it says 2016. So the student may be, well, I actually did refer to it, I just made a mistake. So they can actually object to the feedback, and this will be displayed to the teacher, and it will let us know that we may have made an error. At least it will give them the feeling that they are heard, and they are heard. And this extra point of feedback, which may have been made an error, was actually does not count anymore. Let me just finish my feedback, and then we're actually done. As you can see, this has now become gray. Also, a part of this has become gray. So you can imagine if you don't agree with any of the red things, you just make them gray. But we do expect students to take this seriously, of course. All right, I think that was it for the demonstration. Let me just get back to my slides. So what results did we get thus far? Well, since 2 months, actually, we've been testing it out. So it's been live on production for 2 weeks. But before that, we started trying it out with teachers also at Erasmus University and Rotterdam University of Applied Sciences. And we tested thus far in 10 courses with a total of about 180 students. And we already gave about 1,400 points of feedback. And we got some nice words out of it, some kind words, but I'm mostly happy with seeing this thing in action. But let's look at some of the words that we got. So from a teacher, we got this. I like using the tool as it doesn't cost me any time to set it up, and my students find it easy to use. I'll definitely make use of automated feedback again. Well, this really is the kind of stuff we like to hear, and which at least triggers me to work extra hard to make sure it remains easy to set up, and students really continue liking it. And from a student, we got this. Feedback is really helpful for checking the formalities, such as whether abbreviations have been introduced and if personal pronouns have been used. So this is also, it shows already that students, they recognize that this is something that is to their aid. It doesn't judge them, but it really helps them in their writing process. Right, and of course, we're not done yet, absolutely not. So looking into the future, what can we expect to be working on? We have 3 main topics which we would still like to really dive into in the coming time. But we can divide them in the following. So we have insight and oversight. We want instructors to really gain insight into what students are struggling with, so that they can repeat certain topics within class, maybe to really help the students get what is necessary somewhere. Validation and calibration. We've noticed that going through this list of feedback, it works for if you only want a small set of feedback enabled. But as the list of feedback is getting larger and larger, we notice that we need some validation and calibration. So that where you, as a teacher, you would allow, you would upload a set of examples, and then we look at those examples, and I will rush.
Just to let you know, you've got 1 minute.
I will rush through it. This is my last or second to last slide.
Thank you
very much. So to help them set up, that's basically it, to give them more control. And then the third one is self-learning, where we look at peer feedback or teacher review sessions in the past, and we look at the feedback that has been given, and we're trying to see, could we give that feedback ourselves, given a certain pattern in the student work, could we actually provide that feedback ourselves? But that is more far, that's further into the future, but it's really like the golden goose. If we reach that, we'll be very, very happy. All right, that's it for me. Thank you very much for paying attention, and hope you had some fun.
Thank you very much, Wilco and Joost. That was amazing, and lots of compliments coming through in the Q&A to pick up on your own terminology. I do like the compliments and suggestions terms you've used in there. So we've got comments like, brilliant use of AI, this is really good, easy sell to our academics, huge benefit for students, and part of that formative assessment process. Have you done much trialling? I saw you've got a little bit on the trial, but what has the response from the students been? Have they been engaging with that feedback, and what have they thought?
Well, so we have gotten some testimonies from students. Some were positive. Of course, things went wrong as well because it's trial period, right? So some were negative as well. But what we see consistently is that they actually, we see more resubmissions when automated feedback is enabled. So students actually go through the feedback, they look at what has been said, and then they make the changes and resubmit their work. This is something we have not seen this much without automated feedback enabled. So this is something we can really say that happens consistently. If that answers your question.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's always the common issue with feedback, making sure students actually use it. So if they are actually going through and improving their work, that's great to see. So we've got all of those compliments, but I think everyone's so excited about it that they're all off planning how they might use it themselves, rather than coming up with any questions. So just wondering whether you've got any advice for people who might like to use it, how they can actually get started with embedding it in their own courses.
Yeah, thanks for that question. Of course, we really love that if people are already enthusiastic enough. So you can contact us. There's some help center articles how to add. Max, I see a waving hand. Max, do you have something to say and tell people that maybe?
Of course. The easiest way to do is basically contact Annika or me. You can always contact me via max@feedbackfruits.com, even unrelated to automated feedback, and then we'll definitely help you set up as soon as possible.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I suspect you will be getting quite a lot of emails about that, judging by the reaction of our audience. So on that note, thank you very much, Joost and Wilco, for sharing that, how you've gone about developing it, and I'm really excited to see how it turns out with the further rollout.